To Lesson 5 of the Trust Me course. This is strong enough to let me be me. Confident. How safe, comfortable, and relaxed your inner child feels with yourself, with others, and with life. Strength. How strong your caretaker is to protect your inner child's space to be itself, and how strong it is to resist turning on the inner child if its choices or behaviors create embarrassment or unwanted results. Strong enough to stop punishing and start nurturing and guiding. If you're not familiar with the terms inner child and caretaker, I'm dividing the mind down into two parts. And one part of your mind, the voice that you hear inside your head and talking and having opinions and all that stuff, that one part of that is what I label the caretaker. That is the part that is there to provide self-love, to meet the emotional needs of the inner child, to be the calm, supportive, guiding, nurturing caretaker to the inner child part, and to listen to it, allow it to express itself. And then the inner child is just the purest, truest form of you. It is honest. It is your purest form of expression in this world. How your spirit, or how spirit wants to express through you as an individual being. So that is the part of you that is the confidence plant, is that little tender plant. And that's the part we're trying to grow in confidence, which means how safe, comfortable, and relaxed it feels with its own caretaker, with others, and with life. So if we can get it to feel safe and comfortable and free to be itself without fear, then that is confidence. And the strength, the part of you that needs to be strong, is the caretaker part, meaning it's strong enough to protect the inner child from the minds of others who want to shut it down, criticize it, have opinions, judge it, hate it, whatever, be jealous of it, whatever is happening out there. That part of your mind is strong enough to say, hey, back off. Like, I'm sorry that you don't like how I just did that, but I get to make this choice. I get to make this decision. I'm sorry that I'm not pleasing you. So, and it's also to be strong enough not to turn on itself, which most of the time that's what's happening when our confidence is being torn down. Not saying that can't come from the outside as well, but then we learn to do it to ourselves also. And most of our confidence being torn down and not allowed to grow, and not allowed, our inner child is not allowed to come out into the world in full expression, is because we shut it down. We are afraid of it. We are embarrassed by it. So in this lesson today, we're going to be asking ourselves a lot of questions. We're going to find out where some things come from. We're going to get kind of clear on what are we expecting here? Like, what are we, out of all of this information I've given you up until this point, you've probably learned a lot. You've had a lot of things to think about, maybe things you didn't know, maybe you've never thought about self-confidence or any of this in the way that I've told you about it. Maybe you have. I don't know. So we've been going through a lot of information and asking ourselves a lot of questions, but I want you to take today to get very clear on what this means to you. What is your measure of success here? Like, when you're finished with this course, what's going to say to you, okay, I know how to do it now. Maybe I'm not there yet, but I have a very clear understanding of what confidence is, what strength is, what part of me needs to be confident, how it's been torn down in the past. I have a very clear understanding of where all this came from, whether it was environmental, genetic, or there's one in the middle and I can't remember what it is right now, but go back to lesson 1. I talk about it there. I'm trying to think what it is. I can't remember. honestly. Anyway, so we're going to get very clear today on what your measure of success is here in this confidence class, because our goal is that we find out what our issue is, whether we even have confidence issues. And sometimes it's not actually a confidence issue, but it's something else going on, or why we do what we do, and how do we change that? How do we become a stronger, more confident version of ourselves to show up into the world in our purest form of expression, and to feel safe to do that? And if you can, to me, I would think that that would be, if I was doing this class, that would be my measure of success. How comfortable I feel in the world with myself and around everybody else, to just be me, to not have to fake it, to not have to be what they want me to be, to not put out all that effort and energy and trying to guess, oh, okay, well, what's going to make them happy? What's going to please them? What do they want to see in me? What do they want me to be? What do they want me to do? That is exhausting, and I lived most of my life that way. I now can say that I can be around most anybody and not have all of those old things come up anymore. I don't even really think about it. I'm not self-conscious. I'm not second guessing myself. I'm just there. I'm there, and I usually don't kind of shut off that, that constant thought or focus on reading their reactions toward me, or reading their facial expressions, or trying to see if they approve of me, or trying to see if they like me. I've shut that just doesn't happen now for the most part. There are a couple of people that I can come into interaction with, and I have an instant, like I almost feel like a little child around them. But now I understand that that comes from the balance is way off, meaning the energy that they are putting out is like a like a super strong force. It's too much. And when I get into that now, when I meet someone like that, I don't shut myself down or judge myself and say, oh, I'm so weak, or they're so much stronger than me, or they're better than. I don't do that now. I used to. Now I can see it for the truth of what it is, that it actually has nothing to do with me, but it's an energy thing, meaning they're putting out a lot of energy for whatever reason, of overconfidence, and I can feel my own self retract. It's almost like if you're on that seesaw, they're pushing so hard on the other end. I can tell that they're way on the other end of the seesaw, like they're right on the edge of that seesaw, and it makes me want to jump off. It's just like, I don't want to play this game. I don't really want to interact with you, because I know how this is going to turn out. And to me, I feel good about that, not in a judging way. I don't feel it's a judgment. I feel it's more of a discernment, that now I can tell those super strong minds that are probably not safe. They're not a safe space for me to get involved in, where used to that would be who I was attracted to, because I felt like, okay, well, they know, they'll help me, they'll make decisions for me, and I won't have to do it, or they're super strong and they'll protect me, or they take care of me, or whatever. And it never ended up that way. I usually ended up being used or taken advantage of, or whatever negative consequence there was to engaging in a relationship like that, because I made them my caretaker, because they seemed so strong and I didn't have that yet within myself. So I gravitated toward those people that could do it for me, because I didn't know quite how to do it for myself yet, but now I do. So now when I come up against those people, instead of being sucked into that, I'm repelled by that. And again, not in a, oh, I think they're a bad person or I'm judging them as this or that. Nope. This is a total energetic thing where my energy can sense something that would not be safe for me to engage in. It would not be safe for my inner child. My little confidence plant would not grow in that environment, would not be nurtured in that environment. It may then even cut my confidence plant down. I may start to second guess myself again. I may start to question myself again. So I really value that discernment, and I think that as you guys get into this, and you may already have it and you just didn't know that you had it, and you might have questioned yourself and said, oh, I don't know why I feel like such a child around this person. Take a look at it. Take a look at it and say, do you actually? Or are you picking up on something that is like your own built-in intuition, your built-in alert system to say, yeah, I don't think that's a great environment for my little confidence plant. I don't think I would grow very well in that. Nothing against the other person. It's just not for me. So I value that in myself, and think that if you guys really embrace this content, that will be something that you experience as well and can value in yourself. So let's ask ourselves some questions here. Number one, and I want you to get your journal, and really you can pause the audio and take your time with this. Don't rush through any of it. Really take your time. Number one, I don't trust myself because. Just ask yourself, whatever comes to mind, why do I not trust myself? Number two, I don't feel safe and comfortable to be myself around others because. Just write out whatever comes. Number three, I don't go through life in a relaxed way because. Number four, if you had the perfect amount of self-confidence, how would you be different than you are now? How would you carry yourself? How would you feel? What would you do? Take your time with those questions. Really think about it. Really write it out. When most people answer these questions, they say something like, I could just be myself and not care what anyone else thought of me. I would be free to go through life the way I wanted without being judged. I would be strong enough not to allow others to take this from me, to not overpower me, to not intimidate me. I could go through life in a relaxed way and not have to please anyone else all of the time. I could use my energy for the things I wanted to use it for. I wouldn't allow anyone else to control me with fear or manipulation. So let's get clear on who you are and how you want to be in the world, and then get strong enough to hold your space and confidence balance around even the strongest, most rigid, tall grower in your life. The first step to feeling comfortable to be yourself around others is to know yourself, or know your inner child. Your inner child is the part that holds the purest form of your expression. If you don't know what the purest form of yourself is without outside influence, or trying to please, impress, satisfy another person's idea of you and how you should be, you will never be able to be yourself around others, much less practice getting comfortable with it. So how do we find out? Well, how do we even find out who we are? And I hope you did the exercise that I mentioned yesterday about going through the day just saying, do I like this? Do I even like this? Do I like this? Do I like that? Do I like this? I hope you actually did that, because it can be very eye-opening to say, you know what, I picked that because I saw it in some magazine, and I bought it because I thought if I had this, or I wore this, or if I had this look, or if I projected myself out into the world with this identity, that the world would think, others would think this about me. And then I would feel safe because they thought I was cool or well dressed, or, like asking yourself that question makes you go deeper into the why of your choices. Why am I choosing? Do I even Am I choosing this to impress others, to be accepted by others, to be, or do I like this? Do I even like this? Does my inner child, would she pick this? If she could care less what other people thought of her, what would she wear around the house every day? Or what would she wear out in public? What would she wear? If she could not care about, or did not care about fitting in, about being accepted, what would she choose? I mean, ask yourself, you have to get to know yourself. So how do I find out then? Ask yourself, who do I feel the most relaxed around? That is not a family member. Don't pick a family member here in this question. Who do I feel the most relaxed around? It's best not to pick a family member because there may be expectations on behavior depending on what role you play within the family. So choose a friend, someone who expects nothing from you, someone you can express to that doesn't judge you or try to fix you, but just listens. Someone you know loves you unconditionally. No expectations, no conditions need to be met. They don't want anything from you or want you to make them feel a certain way. You can completely relax around this person. You can be relaxed, you can do anything, you can say anything, and it's always okay. They are emotionally and mentally healthy. Do you have someone like that? I call that a safe space. If you have a safe space person in your life, you are incredibly lucky, as they are a rare find. And if they are a safe space, you have a balance with that person. You also trust this person or you wouldn't be relaxed. Now ask yourself, how do I behave around them? I have an audio that I've put at the within this lesson that you can listen to. It's called Becoming a Safe Space in a Difficult Relationship, and it just talks more about what a safe space is. And I'm going to elaborate on this just a little bit, but I'm just going to finish this paragraph. If you don't have a safe space person, plan to spend more time alone exploring this for yourself without any outside influences. Set a goal to be that safe space person for your own inner child, as well as learn how to be that for others. Safe spaces out there, non-judgmental, non-intruding, wanting to control you, wanting you to be something you're not, like, those are so very rare. And it takes a person who is strong within themselves, who is taking care of their own inner child, is keeping their own mind, which is the inner child, keeping it calm and relaxed. They know how to care for themselves. They know how to meet their own needs. So this is a very emotionally and mentally stable, mature person. And that is why it's such a rare find, because most people, maybe they're doing their work, but it takes some time working through our basements. It takes some time relearning how to talk to ourselves, the kind of things we say to ourselves, we don't say to ourselves, not cutting ourselves down. It takes time to be able to do that. And once we can do that for ourselves, then we can begin to do that for other people. And it's such a gift to the world. It's such a gift to yourself first, but it's such a gift to others when you can provide them that space to just be who they are without any fear. So if you're a parent and you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh my God, I've not done this for my kids, please don't put the scissors down. Don't start cutting yourself up or cutting yourself down because of this. We don't do that anymore. We're learning. You don't know what you don't know. And now you're here, so give yourself a pat on the back for that. You're trying to learn a better way. You don't know how to do it for yourself. You were never taught how to do it for yourself. Your parents didn't know, you didn't know, but now you know. Now you know, now you're getting to know, now you're learning. So give yourself a break and let yourself off the hook. It's all going to be okay. We're going to get through this together. Okay, I want to tell you just a little story before I move on about being a safe space. All right. In Northern California, somewhere just north of San Francisco, there's a place called Ions. And I'm not going to explain this perfectly, but they're a company who basically does scientific research on things that are more used in more spiritual practices. So they're trying to prove scientifically that things that we do in the, healing world or spiritual world out there, that they actually do have some impact on the physical body. They also do other things, but that's the gist of how I understand ions, and that's IONS. You can Google them, look them up for yourself. If you want to support them, that would be great also. But I took a trip and visited them, and they were having a like a conference, and they had different scientists doing different things and talking about their different projects. And there was one lady that spoke, and her name is Julia. I can't remember her last name, but Julia. And she was working on a project with an artificial intelligence robot called Sophia. And Sophia is like well known. You can look her up and Google her, and she's been on the like she's been on TV, okay? She's kind of a big deal. So Sophia she she has lots of programs, but this lady Julia who works at Islands was working on a program for Sophia called Being Unconditionally Loving. And her talk just it hit me so much about how she wrote a program for basically she had college students come in and sit with Sophia one-on-one, and Sophia would lead them through a meditation, and she would get them into some transcendent states, get them as deeply as she could so that they could connect spiritually, so that they could have an experience. And part of the program was to make her a safe space. Basically, they gave her the facial expressions, they gave her the reactions, they gave her what to say in each instance, and that impressed me so much that they can write a program for this robot. Why we need to learn this? We need, as human beings, to learn how to be a safe space. She had one advantage because she was an inanimate object, so people felt more comfortable with her because they didn't feel she had the capability of judging. So that was one mark on her side of being unconditionally loving. They trusted her already because they knew she had no past history with them. She had no agenda. She had no ill motives. She wanted nothing. She had no expectations of them. And they knew that basically just from the fact that she was not human. She was not connected to a human mind who has all these tendencies to want to, make other people into themselves, who judge, who have opinions. So she had none of that. So she was already a pretty safe space, right? And then they gave her the facial expressions to use of kindness, of compassion, of being unconditional. And this type of interaction with this robot, this being, or I don't know if you can call it a being, but this thing sitting in front of them, as she's asking them questions, they felt safe and comfortable to say whatever they wanted to say. And that's a big key in helping people experience themselves. If we can't remove ourselves out of the way, if all of our junk, all of our expectation, all of our fears, all of our self is clouding the interaction, is on top of this person, they're not safe to explore themselves, to know themselves, to be themselves. They don't feel safe to do it. So I wanted to share that because I was just impressed by it so much, that to become, this safe space, they have to trust that we're not judging them, that we don't have any motives, that we have no past history with them, that we're completely safe space, that all has been forgiven, that we don't hold anything against them, we don't have any expectations, we don't want anything from them. That's what you have to provide. And sometimes it takes time, like even when you're offering this to the person, they can feel it, they feel the difference, but they don't quite trust it yet because they know the old you. They know how you used to be. So they kind of tiptoe in, like, is it safe to say this? Like, are you going to have an overreaction? Are you going to bite my head off? Are you going to... So it give them time to start to trust you and this new way of being. So that's all I want to say about being a safe space. But I hope that you can start to explore that for yourself. Be that for yourself first. That's the priority here. If you can't be that for yourself, you cannot be that for other people. So that's part of how you can find out who your inner child is when you offer it a safe space to just play, explore, say whatever it thinks, to not shut it down, to not suppress it. So why do you pretend? Maybe you're afraid that you won't like the real you. Maybe you're afraid others won't like the real you, or that you would be alone if you let the real you out. The caretaker is the one holding the fears here and doing the pretending. The real you is the inner child. The real you doesn't pretend. The real you, the inner child, doesn't pretend, because the inner child actually doesn't care. That's the part of you that actually doesn't care what others think of it. It will do anything, say anything. There's very few limitations or inhibitions. It just does things. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't offer any guidance of what's appropriate and when to do this and when not to do that. We all have to find that balance within ourselves, but suppressing ourselves is a different story. Not being afraid of this part of you, being embarrassed of this part of you, hating this part of you is not okay. You have to find your peace. You'll need to make your peace with the inner child. If you are hating yourself, you will need to overcome that before you can begin healing and nurturing confidence. So ask yourself that question. Are you scared of who you might be as your new confident person? Are you afraid to let this little plant grow? Are you afraid that it might embarrass you or push you out of your comfort zone or make you do things that you're afraid of? You need to ask yourself these things. You're asking for confidence here. You need to face the fears and the discomfort that may come with that and make your peace with it. Finding the balance in your relationships. I just want to give just a small thing here, because this is Trust Me, and this is in the People Room, and the People Room is all about relationships. So I just want to throw this in. Have you ever noticed how you are one person in front of some people but take on a different persona around others? Your personality changes to deliver what the person you are with expects of you. I noticed this when I remember sitting on the school bus on my way home one day. I guess I was about 9 or 10. And I remember thinking how interesting that it was that I felt like different people, a different person around different people. And my mind has always been a processor, so I was analyzing and processing it even then as to why I did that. And I didn't come up with an answer then, because I didn't have enough maturity, or I didn't know enough about the world or myself or people. But I was trying to piece that together as to why I did that, because I just thought it was so interesting. So now I get it a little bit better. I understand why I would do that. Your personality changes to deliver what the person you are with expects of you. Your beliefs around another person alter your behaviors. If you are trying to strike balance in a relationship, have a conversation. Tell the other person what your mind says they think about you. Give them the opportunity to confirm or deny this thought. So, yeah, the reason we kind of shift personalities is we're trying to, I think we're subconsciously, or our inner child is trying to strike a balance, but we take it too far, as in we dishonor ourselves or sacrifice the truth of who we are to make it easier on the other person, to make ourselves more relatable to the other person. And then our mind tells us, oh, this is what they want or need, so be that. And if you're a strongly empathic person, if you sit on the competence fence of activator, connector, or guardian, and you feel things, like you feel another person's discomfort, or you feel their nervousness, or you feel their social awkwardness or whatever, you try to fill in the gap all by yourself. Like you try to find the balance with that person to make them feel more comfortable with you. And you pick up on their facial expressions. You learn what makes them smile, what makes them happy, and you become that. So you can become the entertainer. You can become the 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 therapist to them. You become whatever you feel that they need in that moment. Now, this isn't a necessarily negative thing. Like, this can come in very handy. It's mirroring, basically. You're mirroring the other person so they feel more comfortable and more safe in your presence. And that can be part of becoming a safe space for them. But you can take that a bit too far if you are sacrificing or suppressing your own self. If you're noticing this is taking a lot of energy out of you, you might want to take a look at it. Like, you might want to take a look at, maybe this has gone beyond me trying to make this person feel comfortable and like I'm a safe space for them. Maybe it's gone beyond that, and I'm actually trying to make sure they approve of me, or I'm looking for acceptance or approval. So again, it's not black and white. This is a gray area that we're working in. So you need to just look at that. If, again, the warning sign is, I'm drained. I am completely drained after interacting with all these different people, because I have to shift so much. I'm doing all the work here, basically. I'm the one, trying to find the balance, scooting further away or more in the middle. And that's not a healthy relationship. It's okay if you need to do that while someone is learning or they're working on it themselves. But if you're always the one adjusting the energy, you're always giving, and there is no back and forth, you're not working together on this, it's just you trying to hold the balance, that's not okay. Okay? So you need to look at those relationships and say, I need to be able to relax. Also, like, I need to be able to feel comfortable too. I need to, take care of myself during this interaction, and it can't just be all about how the other person is feeling. I'm not there to make them feel a certain way. They're supposed to take responsibility and do that for themselves. So it also can go into a little enabling. But some of us do have that tendency to do it, so we have to be careful. We have to really look at what we're doing, how much that energy that it's taking for us to do that, and kind of know when to tone that down just a little bit, and to say, you know what, this isn't all on me here. Like, I don't have to be the one to make sure everything's so smooth all the time in this energetic balance. This is something that is the responsibility of two people. This is a two-person job. And if you're doing it all yourself, then you need to take a look at that. Okay, so, yeah. So we have to be able to talk to each other if we're going to find out the confidence balance so we can both grow and thrive. Now we're going to talk about communication, because communication is important. Communication is so important. If your relationship were a garden, communication would be how you cut down the weeds and fertilize the plants. Too many of us are in relationship with others believing so many lies about what they think of us and how they feel about us. We go off of assumptions and never ask the person directly. Now, if you're doing this, you have a weed in your garden. If you get enough weeds, and that will no longer be a garden you enjoy hanging out in. Get enough weeds and that will no longer be a garden you enjoy hanging out in. That's how it goes. Be courageous. Be courageous. Ask them. Get the facts. So don't just, a lot of our minds, especially on this side of the confidence fence of activator, connector, and guardian, are storytellers. We assume our mind will say, oh, they think this about me and they think that about me. It's not even true. They don't think it. They're probably not thinking anything about you at all. Our mind thinks that someone is always thinking something about you, and it's not actually. It's probably thinking about their own self and their own issues and not even thinking about you. So ask them, get the facts. If you value the relationship and want it to grow and thrive, you have to be willing to work the garden together. If you are afraid of the other person or their reactions, let them know. Let them know that this makes it hard for you to tell them things or ask them questions. If you can't communicate, this will be a miserable experience. Sometimes when the other person has an angry or defensive reaction when you try to tell them things or ask them questions, it is because they immediately assume they are being attacked or blamed, and this scary response from them will shut you down. I call these words a shutdown phrase. And it's good if you're in a relationship where you're both doing this mind work together, if you can help them see when they're doing it, because they may not know, they may not catch it, they may not realize that they're doing it. But I have a relationship where I was getting some shutdown phrases, and I would just say, that's a shutdown phrase. Like, I'm not threatening you here. I'm actually trying to communicate. And when you say things like that, that's saying to me, back off, drop it, and you're shutting me down, and now I feel like I can't say anything else. One of the shutdown phrases the person in my world would say was, we've already talked about that. I've already told you about that. I've already explained that. We've already talked about that. That's a shutdown. That's saying, drop it. I'm not telling you again. Forget it. But I wasn't clear. I wasn't clear on the conversation. I needed more information. I needed an answer. I didn't know what to think about something, and so I asked again. And I'm, again, not a detail person. And I forget things. And I genuinely just wanted to know, and they would say, I've already told you about that. And they would get very angry. We've already talked about that. We've talked about that a million times. I've told you this over and over. And I'm like, wow, I'm sorry that we talked about it. I'm sorry I'm having to ask again, but I actually don't know. So that's an example of a shutdown phrase. Their reaction says, back off, leave me alone, don't go there. So you don't. Then you learn to never go near them with anything, and you stop communicating. This person would also say, why don't you ever talk to me about things? Why don't you ever tell me anything? And I'd be like, oh, I'm kind of scared too. I'm kind of scared to say things to you. So you just don't even say anything. So then you learn to never go near them with anything, and you stop communicating. They absolutely cannot handle the confrontation or conflict, or they're annoyed, or they're impatient, or they're intolerant, whatever the thing is. Sometimes they can fear looking deeply. They are afraid of their basements. Many of these people have a tremendous amount of secret self-loathing, meaning they've got some self-talk. They just hate themselves. And they don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how to release this pain that they feel. they don't even probably know it's there, but they have a lot of self-loathing, and that comes out sometimes in the poor communication and the shutdown phrases. So when this happens, communication will be suppressed, and so will your relationship. I just wanted to throw that in. I don't know how much that has to do with what we're talking about today, but I feel like it's important, and it's an important part of the finding the balance in relationships. Protect your confidence plant from other greedy, needy minds. The mindset of the caretaker who refuses to allow others to cut down its confidence plant or suppress its inner child. So this is the mindset, and I'm going to give it to you here. Read this daily to help you grow stronger and grow some deep roots for your confidence plant. Here I am. All right, here it goes. Ready? Here I am. I'm me. If you don't like me, it's okay. You don't have to. I'm still safe. I'm not here to please you and keep your mind feeling safe and calm. I'm here to please me and keep my own mind feeling safe and calm. I have a life, and you have a life. I get to choose what to do with my life, even if it's wrong according to you. I will take my expectations off of you. Please take yours off of me. I will give you space to safely be you. Please give me space to safely be me, free of guilt, shame, mind games, and manipulation. I am responsible for meeting my own emotional needs, and I don't expect you to meet them for me and make me feel a certain way. Please do the same for me. Be your own caretaker. I use my time and energy. It belongs to me to choose how to use it. Please don't take ownership of that and try to make it yours. Don't try to make me feel guilty for not giving to you what belongs to me. You have your own time and energy. Use it however you like. I don't want the fear and anxiety your mind has around me. It doesn't help me. Please remove it. You call it love, but it is not. It is fear. Your fear is smothering me. Love is trust and allowing space and being a safe space. I will be a safe space for you by removing my fear and my expectations off of you. Please do the same for me. I refuse to cut myself down and suppress myself over your opinion of me ever again. Now, protect your confidence plant from your own caretaker. So that's a good thing to read each day, to learn how to protect, to have the attitude, the mindset to protect yourself from other minds out there. But you also need to protect you from your own caretaker, especially if it hasn't really learned patience and tolerance and how to speak in a loving, nurturing way yet. How strong are you not to turn on yourself? See how many of these statements are already true. Okay, you ready? I am strong enough to be disliked. I am strong enough to be hated. I am strong enough to be judged. I am strong enough to face feeling embarrassed. I am strong enough to be talked about. I am strong enough for people to think of me as less than them. I am strong enough to lose it all. I am strong enough to be rejected. I am strong enough to feel unwanted. I am strong enough to be alone. Being strong doesn't mean that you won't feel fear or negative emotions if these things happen. It simply means you are strong enough to face them, strong enough to overcome them, strong enough to protect your confidence plant through these things by not turning on yourself with hatred, harsh or critical dialogue, and cutting it down. That is strength. If you're not there yet, it's okay. We're working on it. So that is it for today. Take your time with this content, and we'll meet back here for tomorrow's lesson number 6.